Welcome to Rich Conversations. This is another one of our weekly guided reflection sessions where we're going to take about 40 to 55 minutes out of our day to simply just think more intentionally about our own lives. I'll pose simple questions, and through these answers we can be a little bit more clear in the direction we want to head in life, where we want to go, so we can really pursue it with velocity. And we'll start this session how we do every session, and that's 5 minutes of breathing. So what I'll do here is set a timer for 5 minutes. And all we're going to do is just breathe in and breathe out. And try to sit up straight with your feet on the ground if you're in a chair. And just breathe in and breathe out.
I paused, and I was like, yes. Like, and then I'm like ready to pull out my note they have for it. I use it still. It's like no one's gonna look at the inspiration. If they listen to the inspiration, they just be like, oh yeah, that. And still have it. I have gotten a new one. But I was just like, wow, I am sick. Like, just use it to your advantage wherever. I was literally like about to be like, no, I'm faculty. And then I was like, this is it. I'm whatever you want. I was actually surprised. I was like, do I not look like a teacher?
All right. 5 minutes. How do you feel? Feel good? I feel great. Right now I'm at the Chicago Athletic Association Hotel. One of my favorite places in Chicago. And it's a holiday time. Christmas is coming up. And so, a place like Chicago City is really festive. There's lights everywhere. And just over here is we have a fire going. This has very like a hunter's lodge vibe. Though it has like Venetian Gothic architecture. Anyways, I love this place. I'm energized to be here with you and here. And we'll start this session how we do every session. And let's just take some time to think about what we're grateful for. What are we grateful for? You can take out your notebook or type on a computer, or even just think in your head or say things out loud. Whatever works. It is cold outside. It's in the 20s degrees. I don't know what that is in Celsius for all the non-Americans here for us. The wind yesterday in Wisconsin was 40 miles an hour. It was wild. But that's when it's good to be inside. And especially if you have a fire, if you have access to a fireplace, perfect. Maybe that's something we're grateful for. So this espresso I'm drinking is from Fairgrounds Coffee downstairs, and it's the strongest espresso. So this is espresso in here. This is the strongest espresso I think I've ever had. Tastes pretty good. I was talking to someone yesterday about espresso, and I don't know. I like the taste of coffee, and so I find with espresso you really get that rich flavor. And I don't like holding big things, so I like more smaller things, smaller cups or little sips. For the aesthetic purpose. Yes, we'll see how fast I start talking during the session. Question number 2. What's the last thing we complained about? And did complaining about it resolve anything? Or move it, whatever the issue was, in a positive direction.
I'm resisting. Like, I feel like diving into academic teaching is like a very
Well, I guess I can also look for examples. I was just making sure that
we'll see.
there
Anyway,
wasn't a tagline or something
yeah.
along those lines where
And I truly enjoy it. Well, this one. And that's. What I truly love doing it. I think I really need to building my portfolio and marketing myself and clients because I have quite a good camera and I love it and I'm good at it.
Yeah, complaining. It's ugly,
I like doing interviews. Like I have
and it's not a good aesthetic, as we like to say. So anytime we find ourselves complaining, like we're hearing ourselves complain about something external, or certainly we don't want to be complaining about someone else. It's just not overall, like holistically, it's not going to be in the plus column. Overall, it might be okay in the moment. It feels like, it seems like, but overall, it's in that. If we're doing like a negative and a positive signs with just these like left and right columns, complaining won't end up in that positive column. So think about that, and it's not necessarily the end of the world if you're complaining, but just be aware of these things, right? And we don't have to be perfect. That's not what any of this is all about. That's not what life is. But it's just like understanding how our thoughts bleed into our actions and affects our energy, affects the energy around us, affects other people. So, let's be aware of that,
if we actually just
Alright, man. So, hey, thanks for taking the time today.
I have a lot of years in the service industry, bartending, and sometimes what brings staff members together is complaining about other customers. But I like to remind my staff members, hey, let's be a little better. There are certain situations we can discuss, but we never want to put anybody else down, right? And certainly in front of other people, It's just never a good look. It's aesthetically ugly. All right, here we go. The best tasting espresso I've ever had is in Paris at this place called Radio Days in the Canal Saint Martin area. And apparently the coffee beans were from China. I didn't even know coffee beans were grown in China. The other one was this place in New York, Williamsburg, and it was this like Colombian coffee house. I forget the name of the place. And they had this like sign on the wall that said, from harvest to your cup is 10 days in between. It tasted so fresh. It was amazing. That's the remarkable nature about the logistics and the global world we live in. So what's something that we appreciate that the current global logistics exist for. Like something that we enjoy and love and appreciate, that we're grateful for, how understanding how the logistics went into that. Like what is something for us that we can point to. The worst part about espresso, in my opinion, is that it's gone too quick. You know? You can't savor it for a long duration. Yeah, we live in a world. I've been studying barcodes. Barcodes have made the world that we live in quite remarkable. Really a pivotal point in the story of the human species. Barcodes. It's easier to keep track of things. You know where things go. What's something you're curious about recently? Something like that. You know, it's holiday season. Maybe it's something about the holidays. Maybe the wreath business, the Christmas tree farm business. I saw this sign yesterday, and it was Christmas tree farm. It's like a tin, like this size shape. Christmas tree farm. Established 1950. And then it said had like 3 other words, and it was $5. And I thought, I personally wouldn't buy something like that. But someone else might. Aesthetics, again. You know, some people go all out for Christmas, and they are really energized by the festiveness and the pageantry with the holidays and the spirit. And so that $5 thing might complete the entire room, right? But from my perspective, I'm not coming at it from that angle, so that sign doesn't do anything for me. It would be nothing but a waste. But it's fascinating that that product just exists. And it's available for someone to exchange energy for. It's like a 1 in a million shot. I'm staring out a window right now across Michigan Avenue in Chicago. And I love this time of the year because Chicago gets a whole bunch of more tourists in town compared to at the beginning of September, Labor Day. Right after Labor Day, the amount of tourists experiencing the town dips. It goes down. And then in December, it picks back up again. Especially the week right after Christmas. So like the 26th through New Year's, there's an unbelievable amount of people visiting the city of Chicago. I've always appreciated that. Living here, I spent a lot of time living here. And there's an energy to it. People are excited, and the decorations, the festiveness continues. Decorations stay up through the new year. So let's think about tourism. I think the word tourist gets too much of a negative connotation. Let's think a little deeper. Like, what do we find to be positive about tourism and experiencing other cultures, other places, other cuisines and geographies, climates? You know, what value do you see tourism bringing to the human experience? So how do you see tourism enhancing the human experience? I'm meeting up with a friend after this. And that's him. You ever get that where you're thinking of someone and then someone messages you, gets in contact with you? I don't normally do that. I don't normally bring out my phone when I'm in a conversation with someone else. We're here having a rich conversation.
Like, I was just like, oh yeah, it was a lot of work. And then I'm just like, oh yeah, and then that.
And right after this, I'm meeting up with a friend.
Oh my God, I was just already.
But I knew that message was regarding where we're going to meet up
I can't handle like.
after this.
I felt so responsible for so much communication.
So something we like to do.
festival, and then it was just like, oh my god.
So something we like to do is try out different happy hours
Wait, so
around the loop and in the city, like downtown. So we'll just choose a different spot and just go there. The last time we went to this place, it was like a Parisian bar. It was gorgeous. It was definitely, when we're talking about aesthetics, when he recommended it, I was like, beautiful. I'll meet you there. And this time we're going to an Irish place, which is more of his aesthetic, his vibe. An Irish sports bar. But what's something you like to do with your friends on a consistent basis, like an activity together? Yeah, I'm in Chicago for 24 hours. It's always wild to me now, like the last few months. I've lived in Chicago for like 15 years. And then this summer, I just went and moved back to a farm. So I'm in a farmhouse in the middle of the country. And then within a couple hours, I'm downtown Chicago. And the juxtaposition, the change, it's quite stark. But I'm in town for just like a short amount of time, and I'm like, it's pretty jam-packed. After I meet up with this friend, I'm meeting up with another friend at night, and we're watching the Packers-Lions game on Thursday Night Football. And we always like getting together around Wisconsin sports teams' games. And our Packers are pretty good team, as usual. The issue with the Packers, though, is we're always good, but often rarely great. What I mean great is winning Super Bowls. We've only won 2 Super Bowls in my lifetime. We can do better. And then tomorrow I meet up with Ken, and we're going to go over some final touches on The Boy and the Rocket Ship, a children's book together. I have another idea for a children's book that we've discussed in our last work session, but I've developed it more and want to present it to him tomorrow morning. What do you enjoy doing with your friends, like that you do consistently? Whereas, one friend, we like to check out different happy hours around the Loop in Chicago. Another one, we like to watch Wisconsin sports games together. There's all different sorts of things we can do with other people. Now let's think. Let's place ourselves in another city. And if you had 24 hours in that city, what would you do? So just like this, I'm in Chicago for like 24 hours. And I'm doing all these different things in 24 hours. So what's a city you would pick and then do that? Maybe it's like Nashville. I don't know why I just thought of Nashville. I've been studying Taylor Swift quite a bit, and so that probably is part of the subconscious part of me that has like Nashville on my mind. Because in 2004, 2005, 2006, around there, Taylor Swift moved from Pennsylvania to Nashville. She played at the Bluebird Cafe, which is a infamous live music space, and she performed. I must have read like 10 to 15 Taylor Swift books in the last couple of weeks. Read this one, How Taylor Swift Reinvented Pop Music. I've skimmed through it. I've read the introduction and the last chapter. It's by Rob Sheffield, who's a Rolling Stones journalist. He's written about the Beatles. I haven't read his book about the Beatles. It's called Dreaming of the Beatles or something. The Beatles Dream or something like that. And from reading the Taylor Swift book, it's not what I interpreted the word reinventing to mean. So I might read it more. Taylor Swift is something I'm curious about recently. So I'm studying Taylor Swift. I'm studying market economies. You know, adult things. Yeah, so Nashville was on my mind. I think Tampa would be an interesting city to study a little more. Salt Lake City, maybe? Because they just got a hockey team. I'm a big fan of urban culture or urban metropolitans and the economics around it and cultural significance. And so if you have a sports team in your city, it's often gives credibility to it culturally as a destination per se. And Salt Lake City, it seems like a lifetime ago. I once went to Salt Lake City because I thought I was in love with this woman, and she lived in Salt Lake City. I met her at an event that I spoke at. This was like 2015. So I visited her in Salt Lake City and went to the Temple Square, that like notorious area. Went to the, of course, the University of Utah Natural History Museum. I enjoyed that. Utah is a great place for paleontology, so I was really energized for that. I remember going to a Costco there. On our way back from the Park City, where the Olympics were, the Winter Olympics were there in 2002. So we went to that museum in like that area, and then Park City's where Sundance Festival is. So we like were on that little strip there. But it was in between seasons. It was in November, right before ski season. So it was cold, but not enough to ski and too cold to hike. It's a really unique city because it's right sandwiched in between, not in between, but like around mountains. Whereas Denver is right outside the Rockies, but mountains don't surround the city. It's just like on the west side of the city. So the question for this is, what's something we've done for love before, or we thought we were in love? Maybe it's visiting Salt Lake City. During the time, it made perfect sense in my head. I think Utah is an interesting state. It seems very sovereign, like kind of independent, kind of like has its own thing. The Mormon Church obviously has a big influence there. I remember we were in Temple Square, and beautiful area. And these like 3 women approached me while I was with her. And they were talking to me and whatever. I was like, oh, they were very nice. She's like, yeah, it's because they wanted to marry you. They have to, if they want to be married in the church, they have to like they have to be what was it like? I don't know, something about the church. I was like, oh, interesting. That's something I'd be curious about, the Mormon Church. I know about its reputation, but I'm curious about the theology itself and the spirituality. I'm into a lot of that kind of exploration. It was started by Joseph Smith or something? Joseph something? Maybe? Does that seem right? And went out west and they were just like by themselves doing their thing. Utah Jazz. I'm a big fan of Utah Raptors. It's probably my favorite dinosaur. Think of a velociraptor. Velociraptors are actually quite small. They're maybe the size of a dog. But a Utah raptor is about the size of a human. So in Jurassic Park, those are more the raptors in that movie, that film series, reflects more the size of the Utah raptor rather than the velociraptor, Deinonychus. And it was perfect because they discovered Utah raptor. It was found in Utah. They named it the Utah raptor. It's found during the time of Jurassic Park. So it worked out quite well. If I were to be like sports czar, I'm really into sports teams being named after something of cultural significance of the area. So the Utah Jazz got their name from the New Orleans Jazz. So the team moved from New Orleans to Utah. When I think of Utah, I don't think of jazz music. So instead, we give the Jazz back to New Orleans. They have the pelicans, which is their state bird. But then the Raptors, the Toronto Raptors, would give their name to Utah. And then Toronto names their team after Drake or something of cultural significance in Toronto. The only exception I would make would be the Los Angeles Lakers. They would get to keep the Lakers because of their past success and name brand. It used to be the Minnesota Lakers, the land of 10,000 lakes. Although, I think Wisconsin has more lakes than Minnesota. So that's just another thing that Wisconsin is better at than Minnesota. Think of another state in the United States. If you don't live in the United States, think of the states that you do know or that you're aware of. What do you appreciate about that state's culture and reputation? You know, what do you... Yeah, like what do you appreciate about it? Or enjoy? So like a state other than your own. I think Tennessee has interesting culture. I think that's a state I would like to explore more. We were talking about Nashville earlier, but it has Memphis. I've been in Memphis before when I was 16. Went to Graceland, and I was on Beale Street, and I was wearing flip-flops, and I cut my toe, my big toe, my left toe, on a stop sign or a pole, something on the street. And a drunk driver hit this sign like a week earlier, and the stub was still there, and I struck my toe on it, and it was just like gushing blood. And then we went into this restaurant, and the hostess wrapped it up. So I had this bandage, and I have this nice little scar. Pretty big scar, actually. Memphis, home of the Justin Timberlake team, the Grizzlies. That's another thing, the Grizzlies. I would have the Grizzlies. I would have Memphis change their name from the Grizzlies to, not the Elvises. Maybe something about barbecue or blues. They have pretty good barbecue. I like their style of barbecue sauce. I think the Kansas City style barbecue sauce is really good. Not as much of a fan about the Carolina barbecue sauce. Although North Carolina is another state I'd be curious about. I think the espresso has had its effects through this duration, and now I'm just rambling about different states in the United States. New Mexico, if they had a sports team, I feel like they would have more relevancy in discussions like this about sports. Charlotte's a fast-growing city. They're known for banking and the like Durham, Raleigh. Is it Raleigh? Asheville, like those cities are becoming kind of tech hubs. Virginia is a state with a lot of history and a lot of cultural significance, but they don't have the like powerhouse. They don't have that like big metropolitan area that oftentimes distinguishes states. Their biggest city is Richmond, and then they're near the District of Columbia. So a lot of their culture feeds into the capital. All right, let's wrap this up. I got to meet up with my friend. It's been great spending time with you. Let's enjoy the holidays and be aware of the holiday spirit. And even if we don't personally get into it, go all out, decorate, and do all of that, appreciate that others do, and put up decorations, and they like lights and enjoy giving gifts. Recognize that in other people and how it adds to the overall value and experience that we have. So the last question is, what are we energized for in the next week? It always helps to have something to look forward to. For me, it's been today. I've really enjoyed looking forward to today and spending time with friends and the energy that oftentimes is quite alive in big cities and countryside. All right. You have a fantastic week. Be aware of what's going on. Like, be able to take a step back and see individual things that are happening. Try to really observe the world around us. Let's try to be less in our heads. And something we can, of course, do for that is to practice breathing. We know how to breathe, but be a little bit more intentional with our breathing. Take deeper breaths. We can refocus, recenter ourselves, and enjoy life. Enjoy life. Inspire the future. Let's have a great week.